Hello, I'm Paul Schuhart, and today I would like to talk to you about Paris is Burning. So, Paris is Burning is a documentary that came out in the year 1991. It was produced sometime between the like late 80s and early 90s, right? And so the documentary follows a group of people, uh, queer, transgender, uh, gay men and women uh, who would go to these New York drag balls, and this was kind of known as the end of the golden era for this place, and most of them were African American and Latino, and so the film really explores and captures a movement that was being ignored during this time in the U.S., and especially during the AIDS epidemic, where the film was being filmed at. And so it really gives us a unique study of a time that's kind of now past, but it wasn't very far from us even today, it being 2020 right now. So the film follows, like I said, what a ball. And for those who don't know what balls are, it's kind of like a fashion show. So they would kind of get dressed up, and they would kind of walk down, uh, just kind of in the middle of a room. And so each kind of person normally belonged to what's known as a house. So there is a, let me see if I can actually find one. I know one of them is like House, like I think House Ninja, and House Strataganza, and things like that. And so normally the person that would go would say the first name and the last name to represent what that house. And so it follows like 9 to 10 different of these people, all ranging from different races and backgrounds and cultures. And one of the first things that you start noticing about the film is that they really try to examine masculinity very quickly in the beginning, kind of asking what it is and why it's kind of felt this way or that way. And so they dress to kind of spin on it to ask you, well, what makes a man a man? And I think that's still a question that is still being asked today. And so there was different categories, and so whoever would go, you would sign up for one category, and then at the end they would all vote on who would be the best, and then you would normally get a prize, and that prize or trophy would go to that house. So it would be really good to get into these houses. And the way that a lot of people get into these houses is normally you would just meet the head of the house. I can't recall what they would call them. House mother. The head of the house would be called house mother. I'm sorry. And so uh, the house mother would actually a lot of times actually have a house, because a lot of these people didn't have houses. They A lot of them dealt with poverty and homelessness, and especially racism and homophobia that was prompted and heavily happening during the 80s, and especially because of the AIDS epidemic that was also occurring. And so the film really explores these things, I think, quite well. Another idea that is kind of shared in this documentary is this idea of a higher white class, kind of like Yelpies. I think is the term used to call someone that was kind of in a higher place in New York, that uh, kind of American Psycho's Patrick Bateman would be a yuppie. That kind of experienced lifestyle, this Hamptons and all these luxurious things. Uh, it's one of the things a lot of the not characters, subjects in the films kind of talk about as wanting or dreaming for, uh, which is quite understandable, seeing how a lot of them were kind of pushed down and uh, just really just broken down by society. And so I think that's really what makes these balls even more interesting, is showing for a lot of them the way that they dress. Some wouldn't even have to go as far as uh, steal clothes from places and to really express themselves in a place and in their community, to really show who they felt like and how they felt like in the inside. The film also um, has the origins of what's known as voguing. It's the style of dancing in which someone in a ball walk would like kind of stop and freeze, and then would like kind of take a picture. And so this um, is actually used by the magazine covers of Vogue. And also, a very interesting thing about the film was that on its release, it won at Sundance the Grand Prix Prize and the Teddy Bear at Berlin International Film Festival, and uh, uh, won a couple other prizes, and it was just really a big game changer. And it also it failed to earn an Academy Award for best or nomination for best uh, documentary feature that year at the Oscars, and so this actually led to how documentaries were nominated at the Academy Awards because of how much of an outcry it was that this documentary didn't win. And this, documentary has gone on to just be what's now known kind of like a stepping stone in in trans, queer, gay, LGBTQ filmmaking, and it's definitely a time capsule that we can look back on uh, to a time that I would say that's kind of lost, but it's still kind of felt today.